So Trump, we had a very good meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. We agreed to a 3-month extension on the debt ceiling, which they consider to be sacred. Very important. Always will agree on debt ceiling automatically because of the importance of it. And in the midst of this, Steve Mnuchin, who was in the room, had been in the middle of this whole long explanation about we need a longer extension of the debt ceiling because that will provide safety and security to financial markets, which is the BS excuse that these guys trot out all the time. It's just a total, it's like, okay, if you want to give the financial markets safety and security, raise the debt ceiling for a year. Raise the debt ceiling for 5 years. End the debt ceiling. There's no reason for it. There is literally no reason for Congress every year to have to pass legislation saying, yeah, we can spend more money. Because Congress already has the authority to spend the money. It's like writing a law that says for yourself, that says that you may only pay your bills when you and your spouse sit down and have a meeting and decide that we're going to pay our bills. And if either one of you says, no, I don't want to pay the bills today, then the bills don't get paid. Completely ignoring the fact that, there's a bill for those bills. So some of the things that Trump ran on, Trump ran on a policy, again, largely a Democratic Party policy, of no more stupid wars. It was Democrats who opposed George W. Bush's stupid wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, I get it that, particularly with Afghanistan, most Democrats voted for it. Barbara Lee, God bless her, and, stood up. And history has recorded that well. But Trump, ran on this platform. He basically, and I kept saying this during the Republican primary, when I was predicting that Trump was going to win the Republican primary, I was saying the reason why is because the vast majority of Americans are actually Democrats, or they actually they're actually progressive or weakly progressive. Moderate progressives are actual progressives, the vast majority of Americans. I mean, any survey, look at any survey. The majority of Americans think that Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid should be solid and strong. The majority of Americans think everybody should be covered with health insurance. The majority of Americans want everyone to have a free college education. The majority of Americans think nobody should have student debt. The majority of Americans believe nobody should be wiped out by getting sick. The majority of Americans think that the government should be the employer of last resort. The majority of Americans support the extension of long-term uninsurance or unemployment benefits. I mean, it just goes on and on. The list of things. The majority of Americans support the rights of gay people. The majority of Americans support the right of women to do what they choose with their own bodies. The majority of Americans support the separation of church and state. The majority of Americans think taxes should be raised on billionaires and lowered on working people. The majority of Americans think our war on drugs is stupid. The majority of Americans think that Citizens United is wrong and that billionaires and big corporations should not be able to own politicians. The majority of Americans think that we should have massive spending for infrastructure, even if it means borrowing the money, because we'll make it back, in the added economic activities. The majority of Americans think public schools should be strengthened. The majority of Americans think that privatized prisons are a bad idea. The majority of Americans think that, voting integrity should be at the top of the list, and that voting machines that are privately owned by Republican-leaning corporations should be thrown out.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
The majority of Americans don't want stupid trade deals. The majority of Americans don't want the government spying on us. The majority of Americans think that climate change is real.